Hi, I am Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Welcome to my YouTube channel and to this little mini series called Lessons in Wildly Loving Ourselves and Our Relationships. And it's part of a larger series called Wildly Loved, where we're focusing on how to heal from oftentimes really complicated childhoods, where we're often stuck in that trauma brain response. We're in our adult bodies, but our brain doesn't seem to know that. And how that plays out in our lives and relationships is really what this week's videos and maybe next week's videos are about. It really is about the qualities that often helped us survive childhood, but often set us up to, unfortunately choose unhealthy lives and relationships and partners and not know how to get out of that. And so these videos this week are just kind of my spiel on what I think are important things that we have to, know about and work on. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos. And please check out my links down below on my online courses, and they are really just about all of these topics around remothering our inner child and our inner parent, and how to heal from very complicated childhoods at times with very complicated types of parents. All right, so let's get into it. So this is the second video this week on this sort of lessons in wild love. And the second thing I think that's important we have to learn is that as children, we learned to overread and overanalyze and overinterpret the minds and moods of our caregivers at all times, and to then make interpretations about what that meant. And that is that core of hypervigilance I talked about last week, which is we're like always living in this like, what's happening next? And is mommy okay? Is daddy okay? And what do they need? And what do they want? And are they mad or sad or happy? And then we learn to often mirror them or escape from them or avoid them or give them what they want, be their little best friends and take care of their emotions, whatever it was. But it all starts with us learning to pay attention to those little subtle eye movements or sighs that, what do you want now? What's wrong now? Or them coming in the door, as I mentioned, the gravel in the driveway, meaning that the parent was going to rage at you. And so if they were mad, we might leave the room, or we might be worried they were going to go after someone else. So we had to actually fight back and protect a sibling or even another parent. We might find that they were scared, so we could join in because they really did well with fear, right? That's the often anxious parent, anxious attachment type parent, where they were kind of good at fear, and so we kind of learned to be connected through our fear. Or maybe we learned that they're happy, and when they're happy, we needed to show happiness and be happy, because if we didn't give back that face that they wanted, then bad things would happen. That goes back to yesterday's video on ignoring the mismatch between what we felt and what was happening. And so as a result of this hypervigilance, it's exhausting and it's depleting, and we're always interpreting and reading and making meaning. We are, human beings who love to try to make sense of everything. We need a story, except for oftentimes that story isn't always accurate. And so that goes back to polyvagal theory, right? The idea that story follows state. And quick reminder, what we mean is that the state is kind of referring to three states in our body, in our nervous system, which is always reading everyone else's nervous system. So we have this sort of ventral vagal connected calm state. We have the drop down, all the way down, collapsed dorsal vagal. And then we have that sympathetic, that mobilized energy state. And so in every state, we're reading our own state, and we're reading the outside, the other person's state, the environment. That's called neuroception from Stephen Porges' work. So basically, we're always reading inside and out from the time we're born. And so we have to have a story. And so if I'm feeling, let's say, mobilized and more anxious, I feel this way all the time. Like I literally feel it all of the time. And I often will say it seems like it's for no reason. But I know where it comes from. But I have to be really mindful of the fact that that anxiety that I often have is often historical anxiety of me living in survival mode. And so always feeling like I have to manage everything and take care of everything. It's not necessarily, though, about the immediate story in the room, like what my daughter just said, or what my son is doing, or what patients are doing, right? But I have to have a story. Oh, I'm anxious because blah, 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 because you left the dishes out or didn't do your chores. And it's like, no, you're just annoyed about that because it's a mess. If you weren't triggered, you could be calm and say, hey guys, could you go do your chores? But if I want to make a story up, it can really go from like, this makes me out of control inside because it's messy, because my parent didn't like mess. That then triggers my anxiety to go even higher in hypervigilance. Then the story becomes, it's always on me. I had to take care of the parent. And so then I can actually unload that on my kids, right? I mean, do you see how it all connects? And so this is happening all of the time. And so it can be really hard because we're so focused on reading everyone else that we also don't learn how to read ourselves. And we don't actually know what is going on inside. We're just scanning all of the time. And we're often dismissing our own needs because we need to focus on you. And that kind of also connects to caretaking, which I'll come back to probably next week. And so if the parent misinterprets us, it's our fault. If they're scared, we need to solve it. We need to make them okay. If they're dysregulated, it's our job, right? And so again and again and again, we're doing this. And it just becomes so unhealthy for our lives because we don't know how to sit quietly and hear ourselves think. We might disregard our own feelings and emotions. And it just becomes a really unhealthy, like I'm saying, way to engage in the world because we don't matter. We don't matter. Everyone else matters. And then that can then connect to, because I'm so focused on everybody else and I need a story, that everything is my fault, right? That as I've talked about, I am bad. There is something wrong with me. And then that connects to all kinds of other issues around self-esteem and the choices we make and the partners we choose, right? It goes on and on. So to start with learning how to stop doing so much mind and mood reading, we want to slow our bodies down. That is all of that stuff I talked about around breathing techniques and self-regulation and self-soothing and learning how to really just get that nervous system into a more regulated ventral vagal ideal state. And there are videos here you can check out on that too. And so the next thing we want to do is to begin to challenge ourselves when we rush to interpret and make meaning. So asking ourselves in the kind of classic CBT situation, what is the evidence this is true, right? So if I say, oh, if you don't turn out your video today, you are not professional. It's bad. You're not doing a good job. It's like, well, okay, you've got over 100 videos that you've pretty much stuck to every day or whatever you're doing in the last few weeks. Your feelings matter. Your health matters. If you can't post, how can that help anybody else? But like, what is the evidence that not posting on one day makes you a bad person, right? Or that you should be anxious about that? And so we want to say, though, because what we often believe is that it goes back to us. So if I don't do this, it makes me bad or wrong or a failure or not good enough. And so we really want to work on that because that outside-in orientation and the more anxious and disorganized attachment styles means that we are first looking to you, to the rest of the world, before we can decide if we're okay. And that is giving all of our power and all of our feelings and all of our wellness away to everyone else, right? First. And without saying, wait, I matter. I need to come first. I need to take care of myself. Even when you're parenting, the more you can take care of yourself and regulate yourself, the better you're going to respond when your kids are dysregulated. Then you're going to feel better about yourself because you didn't lose it every single time. And if you do lose it, then you can work on, how to create better strategies, but also to forgive yourself and to make repairs and start over. So you want to challenge the story your body is making up and then ask yourself, what state am I in? Am I in a more calm state? Probably not. Am I more shut down? Am I numbing? Or am I very activated and anxious? And where do I want to go from here? How can I get myself into that more ventral vagal calm state? And then the next thing is sort of, where does this come from? This is a deeper therapeutic question, but like, why do I always operate in this state? Oh, my mother was like that. She was always up here. Or, oh, my mom was way down here and depressed. And it took a lot of energy to deal with her lack of energy. Things like that. And then lastly, going back to that, as I've talked about in my Remothered course, What would a loving mother say right now to help soothe and calm that activated over the top part of my mind? You know, if the child was saying inside, it's my fault, I'm bad, and I never do things right, a loving mother energy would say, no, Lovey, you know, it's not your fault. You're just a child and you're still learning in the world. And none of us are perfect. And it's okay. And, you know, you're worthy of these feelings you have, and not everything is your fault. And let's look at this, right? This had actually maybe nothing to do with you. Most of people's responses have very little to actually do with us. And so we want to learn to pause and love and mother ourselves. And I talk about in my course too, how to do things through my protocol, because it's not just what you say to yourself. Just a sticky note saying, you know, I love you is great, but I don't believe it's enough. Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to, you know, take a walk? What do I need to do? And learning how to pause, as I keep talking about. It's just, if you don't know what to do, learn to just maybe do nothing. Just to pause, just to slow down, to breathe. Do a 5-minute meditation on your phone. Do some box breathing. And then ask yourself, okay, you know, does any of this belong to me? Yes? No? Well, if so, what part belongs to me? And what do I want to do about it or not? No, I've done enough. I don't need to send 5 more emails or 5 more texts. I've owned my part in it, and we're good, because that anxiety can tell you to, well, maybe they misread that, and to keep going, and that feels stressful, right? So slowing down, what belongs to me, what doesn't, what do I want to do about it? And then to really focus on self-compassion exercises. I love Kristen Neff's selfcompassion.org, to do things like I said, like a mindfulness walk where you just go out and try to notice every color around you, to maybe do some self-soothing, to do journaling, to do affirmations, right? We want to get out of that brain that's so hyper-focused on reading everyone else and reflect back inward to what we're feeling. And then every time we do that, to challenge ourselves, stop trying to make meaning out of everyone else. What do you feel and what do you need? So I hope that was helpful. These videos this week, I know they're running longer and I don't know how to stop that. So I'm going to try to reduce them in editing, but I doubt I will be successful. And I'm okay with that, because these are things I feel so strongly about that I want to share. So I hope you find at least some of this video, if not all of it, helpful. And I thank you so much for being here. And let's take a breath and just honor that. It's really hard to do this work, but we can do it one day at a time. So I will see you tomorrow. Take care and stay safe.